An update tonight on the suicide of a Lake Charles teenager whose family says bullying is to blame.
Family and friends of Hannah Pauley stand by that point, but so far investigators say there's no evidence. Jim Hummel has the update.
I still don't have the words for it. What I felt when I saw my daughter laying there, blood everywhere, with a gunshot wound to the head, it broke me.
Len Pauley doesn't have a doubt. His daughter was bullied.
To an extreme that I believe that this was the controlling factor that she took her life with.
Family and friends say Hannah was teased by a handful of classmates at Barb High School, so bad she transferred to another school.
She couldn't take it anymore.
Courtney Satig was one of Hannah's best friends and classmates at Barb and remembers the teasing.
Called her mean names and some just like mean words, and then they'd just stare at her, and then she'd always get me and she'd be like, look, they're staring at me.
Its behavior, friends and family say, was also evident online and elsewhere. Hannah's grandma remembers a text message.
It said, why don't you just die?
As part of the investigation, the sheriff's office confiscated Hannah's cell phone and laptop.
Still have a couple people to talk to, but at this time we have absolutely no evidence to prove this would be considered a cyberbullying case.
But Hannah's dad stands by his claim.
Words can kill. She's proof. Words can kill.
Now, Hannah did leave behind a suicide note, but exactly what she said, her family doesn't know. They haven't seen that note. The sheriff's department has that, but deputies did tell her dad it did contain an apology to him. Live on set tonight, Jim Hummel, KTC TV3.
I still don't have the words for it. What I felt when I saw my daughter laying there, blood everywhere, with a gunshot wound to the head, I still don't have the words to truly tell you what it did to my heart. It broke me.
A father's heartache after his 15-year-old daughter commits suicide. The family says bullying was to blame. Now, this is a story that we've seen before in the national headlines, and now it's a story making headlines here in Louisiana. A teenager's death at her own hands, allegedly because of the words of others. Her name is Hannah Pauley. Lake Charles teen killed herself nearly 2 weeks ago, and while her family insists that bullying played a major factor in her death, the Calcasieu Parish Sheriff's Department says so far there's not enough evidence to pursue any charges in the case. Nonetheless, Hannah's family and friends stand by their claims and are looking for some good to come from her death.
I'm gonna miss everything about her. She was my angel. She was everything in the world to me.
How are you staying so strong?
My faith.
With faith and family, Len Pauley is coping with his daughter's suicide. Hannah Pauley was just 15 years old. She was athletic, loved volleyball and horseback riding, and dreamed of one day becoming a veterinarian. Her family and friends knew she was bullied, but say Hannah kept her chin up.
I know that kids have told her before, you know, why don't you just die? And words can kill. She's proof. Words can kill.
Called her mean names and some just like mean words, and then they'd just stare at her, and then she'd always get me and she'd be like, look, they're staring at me.
Courtney Satig was one of Hannah's best friends and remembers the teasing she endured from just a handful of classmates at Barb High School. That teasing so bad, her family says, that Hannah transferred to a new school.
I just never thought she'd give up and just, I guess, she couldn't take it anymore.
Her suicide was a shock to her friends at Barb, but also to her new friends at her new school, St. Louis Catholic. Friends like Mackenzie McLean.
She had the funniest laugh. She always made me smile. She always liked to joke around. I'm gonna miss her.
By all accounts, Hannah was never the type to wear her heart on her sleeve, best shown by that bright, wide smile always beaming on her face, and that is perhaps where the problem started.
She just kept bottling up, and I think she didn't know how to open up to anyone and finally got tired.
To honor his daughter, Len is starting a foundation in Hannah's name about suicide awareness, the realities of bullying, and getting kids help, perhaps kids like Hannah.
How do you get these kids to truly open up and talk to people? It's easy to say go speak to them, but it's hard for kids to open up and go talk to them, as it was for my daughter. We never saw this.
In the meantime, Hannah's suicide is already having a big impact on those she left behind.
And I want kids to know that this is like, you may be at your breaking point, but this is not worth anybody's hurt or worth their hurt. It's not worth, like Mr. Lynn, no one should have to go through what he's going through.
I think it will serve a purpose to show people what can happen to others when they bully them enough to make them just not want to be here anymore.
Lessons from Hannah. In the days after her death, her grandmother put pen to paper.
Words can be like nails, nails that pierce the flesh of Jesus Christ's hands, nails that seal a coffin. And words cannot be taken back, so speak softly and kindly.
And this footnote to Hannah's story, KATC is kicking off our second year of the Bullying Stops With Me campaign. And we're starting it out tomorrow with a helpline in our 5 and 6 o'clock newscasts. And for more information on this campaign, you can head over to our continuous news website, katc.com.
Here, KATC is teaming up with 6 organizations to stop bullying in Acadiana.
Tonight, we kick off year 2 of the Bullying Stops With Me campaign. Jim Hummel joining us live in the KATC phone bank with details. Jim.
Well, of course, the number to call is 236-6333, and we'll have more on this phone bank coming up in just a little bit. But first, we wanted to take you back and take a look at this one-of-a-kind program and also some changes that are in store for this year. This year, the campaign is taking to the ice. The ice skaters and gator girls are taking the pledge.
We can't always be there for our kids, but we can make sure they have the skills and tools to be successful.
These PSAs are airing on KTC, KTCCW, and Acadiana Open Channel, raising awareness about the campaign.
Year number 2, the biggest thing is we've got the ice skaters and gator girls joining us. We're incredibly excited to have them.
And while scenes like this may play out on the ice, it's a game, and it's left on the ice. Stephen Handwork with AOC says the Gators and Gator girls bring to the table unique experiences about the realities of bullying.
They're actually on both sides of the coin. And even, some of them admitting to, you know what, I probably was kind of a bully because I was afraid they were going to bully me if I didn't bully them. We think that this is going to be able to foster a really good conversation to be able to take us to the next level.
A new year, new partners, but the message is the same. There are people that want to help and ways to help. A website and Facebook group with resources for both parents and students.
The goal again is simply to raise the awareness so that people are talking about this. If we know what bullying is, we're going to be able to jump in and stop it.
So join us in taking the pledge.
Bullying doesn't happen overnight. It develops over time. Stand up with the ice skaters and take the pledge. Bullying stops with me.
And here they are, the ice skaters and the ice gator girls. They're here, they're manning the phone bank until 6:30 tonight, and they've actually gone through a little bit of training with some local counselors about how to take your phone calls. And again, the number to call, 236-6333. We'll have more from the phone bank coming up a little later on in the show. But for now, live in the phone bank, Jim Hummel, KATC TV3.
We spoke with dozens of Acadiana people who say they represent the gay community. Gay men, lesbians, bisexuals, transgenders, and those questioning their sexual identity. Labels given based on their sexuality and gender identity. All week we will explore topics with them such as acceptance, both society's and their own.
Tonight, a gay male and a transgender female. They both came out saying they were gay, but 30 years apart. As they tell KATC's Herbie Smith, society has come a long way since the hatred some faced in the 70s, but still has a way to go.
I think it's more so being comfortable with yourself and people will accept you for who you are.
29-year-old Beyonce Chavis wasn't always a woman. She was born Dorian Chavis. And in the 90s dated girls, but deep down knew it didn't feel right.
You're never going to have a good, happy life if you're always having to hide from somebody.
Chavis no longer wanted to live a lie. At 18, she came out. 4 years later, she started transforming from Dorian to Beyonce. Family and friends stood with her, but in public, she had her share of name calling.
You have people that'll say punk, faggot, or call you out of your name.
For the most part, she wasn't harassed or discriminated against as much as generations before her.
I've heard stories of getting rocks thrown at you and beaten up.
Yeah, they would call queer and faggot and all that kind of stuff. And, sometimes it was, people would get hurt. They'd get hit with those things.
That's what 55-year-old Claude Martin experienced in the 70s when he and college friends would leave a gay bar.
You would walk out of this door and there would be people waiting to throw bottles at you, bricks at you.
Martin says it was even tougher for gays in the 80s when the world was introduced to AIDS. In fact, the virus was known as GRID, gay-related immune deficiency.
People were afraid to go into hospital rooms, so a lot of times, family members were abandoning people because they were afraid of what it meant.
As an activist, Martin says he spent a lot of his life working with different organizations trying to bridge the gap between gay and straight people.
It didn't just start with Lady Gaga, that it has been, generations of men and women trying to find an equal footing with the rest of the communities.
Chavis believes every generation has dealt with growing pains, showing how far we've come as a society and how much further we still need to go.
We had it easy compared to what they had it, and I think that the generation now has it better than we had it, because it's more accepted now.
In Acadiana, Herbie Smith, KATC TV3.
Tomorrow night, Herbie introduces us to courageous gay teens wanting to share their bullying stories in hopes of preventing teen suicide.
KATC's Herbie Smith finds out it's happening right here in Acadiana as tonight 2 courageous UL students share their stories.
I woke up totally sick, throwing up all the things that I took, could barely move. And my dad woke up here and heard the water running, and came up to my room and he found my suicide note.
19-year-old Alison Hayes is reflecting back to where she was 5 years ago, her freshman year in high school, the night she attempted suicide.
I downed lots and lots of pills and, tried to kill myself.
Hayes says the hurt and pain all started while in middle school. She was 13 and decided to no longer hide she's gay. Hayes says she was picked on and teased, and the fact she was gay at a Catholic school made it even harder.
I didn't want to, be a cheerleader and all those kind of things that a lot of the Catholic school girls do.
Not to mention she didn't feel protected by faculty.
There wasn't really a way to avoid the people who really tormented you.
She says her high school years didn't get easier.
Those people who had seen me in middle school and had never been reprimanded for how they treated me were getting older and had more freedom in high school to do whatever they wanted.
Looking back at her life now, Hayes believes the bullying she encountered in middle school and high school were some of the reasons she wanted to take her life.
I was miserable where I was, and I just couldn't take it anymore.
Statistics show gay teens are up to 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their heterosexual peers. A disturbing fact many believe is the result of bullying.
What I was mainly feeling when it came to myself, when I was holding the knife to myself, was disappointment, anger.
Samuel Jones says he first thought about taking his life at age 12. At the time, he says he knew he was gay and afraid of rejection from his family. Numbers from a gay and lesbian organization show gay children who come from families who reject them are 8 times more likely to attempt suicide.
I felt like if I'm gay, then all of a sudden, everything that I'm worth, all the great expectations that they had of me, don't exist anymore, and then I'm insignificant.
In Jones's highly religious family and community, being gay is looked at as a sin.
I used to pray almost every night for my orientation to change, and nothing would happen.
After years of hiding who he really is, this 20-year-old says he had an epiphany.
I'm this way for a reason. God loves me. I need to learn how to love myself.
Hayes eventually found support from friends and counseling.
I don't want to be dead now. I'm happy with my life now.
In Lafayette, Herbie Smith, KATC TV3.
Tonight we wrap up our Bullying Stops With Me campaign with a look at how it's getting better.
KATC's Herbie Smith teams up with several UL Lafayette students striving to remain positive.
These days, it's common to hear about teens who are gay resorting to suicide. Courageous UL students are sharing their stories with the hope of preventing Acadiana teens from taking their lives.
All throughout middle school and high school, I got bullied so much that I used to just go home and cry for hours. But it does get better, and it will get better. You just can never give up, and you keep smiling.
In high school, I was bullied, teased, I tried to kill myself, I was a cutter. But it gets better.
It gets better because there is an entire world out there.
After I got out and got away from all that negativity, it got so much better.
As you grow older, you will find people who accept you for who you are.
You have people all around you supporting you, even if you don't always know they're there.
I got kicked out of my own church, and I moved away, came down here on my own, and I am here to say that it gets better.
As you get older, you find that you give a crap a lot less.
I realized I have friends in places that I didn't realize I had them.
It has gotten better because no matter how many people are against you and don't agree with you, there are so many more people that will support you.
My grandmother told me that being who God created you to be can never separate you from his love.
It does get better. Like all my childhood, like I was nervous that by coming out that I would lose my friends or I would lose my family.
It's gonna get better, and you just have to find friends that believe in you.
And definitely gets better, because if they want to pick on you, then they got to pick on me, because I definitely have your back.
We're here to say that it does get better.
Now, if you're being bullied, remember, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you need help, you can always call the Trevor Project at 1-866-4U-TREVOR. In Lafayette, Herbie Smith, KATC TV3.